But these are grown adults in bondage gear or in G-strings strutting around in front of tiny kids.
And now you again want to question why they're calling gay people groomers? This right here.
I don't even know if I should get into.
Get into it.
Oh my.
Is it there?
Gosh. Our information is being stripped from us.
That's why people say that there's an agenda.
Wow.
Is that not it?
That
And again,
is-
you can look this stuff up.
You shape your own opinion based on the information and the facts that we've gathered.
Hey guys, and welcome back to Our Life Be Like podcast.
Today's episode, we are going to be discussing a very controversial topic. Is there an LGBTQ plus agenda?
IA plus agenda.
And what better way to discuss it than with my gay best friend, who's also a God-fearing, Jesus-loving man.
Which I also feel like with the LGBTQ plus, having a stake in this community, which I will have to say, I've never felt like I was a part of this community. I mean, every year Pride Month comes around and I'm just like, kill me now. It is so exhausting. I feel like I'm put under a microscope and I don't connect with any of it. I've never connected with any of it. And I feel like there's a lot of gay people out there that feel the exact same way. And I have an opinion on it, not only because I'm gay, but I've been to 2 Pride festivals. The first festival I went to, there were literally people having sex on the street.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh.
And it's just like, I don't get it. I don't understand. Like, why is this LGBTQ plus, why is it so sex based?
Mhm.
That has always been my problem. Not saying that I'm not a sexual person, but I'm also a very private person. And I do believe that sex is an intimate, private thing. And
Mhm.
now you're adding this to this community. Now it's on this broad spectrum that we now add in fetishes to people who wear the pup mask and like the
I
top
know.
gear and the bottom thing. And it's just like, why is this a thing? Like, it's embarrassing, honestly. Like, I literally feel embarrassed to be gay. And I thought the whole point of coming out was to be proud of
Proud.
who you are, you
Mhm.
know, which that gets misconstrued with pride, which we're going to be talking about in this episode. Having pride and being proud of something is 2 completely different things. We are a minority. So when you have an opinion, when you have something where you're like, hey, I'm here, you don't walk into a room of 1 million people at this point and just bust the door down and say, hey, we're gay. Notice us. And if you don't notice us, you're homophobic. There's a way to say, hey, I'm here and I have valid reason to have rights, to have a conversation, to have a say in where we are going to proceed in this world. That's one of the biggest things, which is why I'm not going to sit back and say there's not an agenda. There's clearly something going on, because how are you going to take something that's such a minority and put it to the forefront and expect everybody to just be on board?
Well, you always have to question when there is like this much focus on something, like what's the deeper reason?
That's why people say that there's an agenda. Chill out.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you to take a back seat
No.
by no means. There's this whole thing of like, well, you're misgendering me. Listen, I understand there are rude people in the world.
100%.
Welcome to the world.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, that doesn't necessarily mean every single person that you meet is transphobic or homophobic, but you also have to realize that the mass majority is not gay, is not transgender, is not gender, has any gender confusion of their identity. So when you're a pink color thrown into a room of purple, you can expect them to understand you. You have to say, well, hey, I'm a color and I exist in your color wheel. That's the way a conversation should begin.
So I actually have a perfect video to start us off. It kind of like wraps up a lot of what you're saying.
I've objected to it most of my life, to the whole pride thing, and mainly on taste grounds, it has to be said. I don't begrudge anyone having a party. I do begrudge people mistaking their sexuality for some massively important signifier, which demands that other people then not just respect them, but pay them some special dues. And actually, in actual fact, you could see this. So I've stumbled across Pride a couple of times in my time. I've never gone, but I've stumbled across it a few times. And one of the things is, on a simple matter of aesthetics, a taste that I deeply dislike, is seeing a bunch of disco gays on top of a bus waving to the public as if they're celebrities. Sorry, love, you're not a celebrity, you're just gay. That's all. And you shouldn't treat the general public as your audience, waiting for them to celebrate the magnificent, wonderful you. So I think there's just this nasty narcissism at the heart of this.
That is literally, I love this.
Yeah.
Like, that is literally how I feel.
Exactly. I
Like,
mean, he basically just said what you were thinking.
yeah, I do not identify as a gay person. If I had to list 10 things about myself, gay wouldn't even be the topic of conversation.
Exactly.
But
Because-
in today's time, it's, well, I'm gay, or I'm trans, or I'm non-binary. And it's like, why is this your identity? Get over yourself. Like,
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. Like, we respect people's pronouns. You're presenting yourself as a woman, which we will get into the definition of a woman and a female later. But if you're presenting yourself as a woman, I'm not going to sit back and be like, yes, sir. If you identify as a freaking tree, I'm going to call you Mr. or Mrs.
Yeah.
Bush. Okay?
Mr. or Mrs.
Like,
Bush.
I'm not
That's
going to
good.
disrespect you.
I think there's a very small group of people that actually like hate gay, trans
For
people.
sure.
I think that people just want to live their lives in peace. They want you to live your life in peace.
Exactly. But do not push
Exactly. Like you shouldn't be
this
pushing any of this
ideology
on anybody.
It's like, I didn't ask as a child, am I gay? Looking back, yeah, I knew I was gay. You know, as a child, I was told I was the F word. You know, I was called gay slurs, but I wasn't thinking about sexuality. So now why in 2023 are we assuming that 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9-year-olds are all of a sudden wanting to be sexually active, which is gross to begin with? But why are you assuming they're just thinking about sex and thinking about their identity? I mean, I'm not saying there's not people out there that are that young that feel trapped in the wrong body, but you and I've had this conversation off camera. I wanted to be a girl when I was younger. I would wear the hair, the towel, you know, as like it's the hair. I wanted to be in gymnastics. Like, I wanted to play softball. If I lived in 2023 during this time and I had these progressive parents and they were like, hey, you know, you're showing girl qualities. Like, would you want to transition? Oh my God, yeah. But now here I am, a 31-year-old man, and I am so happy to be a guy. I love my appendages, and thank God I didn't have this progressive woke mindset of, well, let's transition you because you're showing symptoms and signs of gender dysphoria.
And that's become such a huge issue right now because I think a lot of parents that are like progressive feel the need to like overcompensate, you know?
To fit in. They're
Yeah,
too
to
woke.
fit in.
Go to sleep. You need a nap. But here's my thing. If you can't have an opinion, then you're literally just allowing yourself to be steamrolled. This has nothing to do with morals. This has nothing to do with values. This is your own self having a backbone and saying, hey, this is my opinion.
There's a big issue right now with, like I said, parents that kind of are conflicted. They want to fit in. They want to do what's politically correct. But we also need to think like about our children's mental health. Kids get confused when they're kids. I mean, kids want to be unicorns. They want to be dinosaurs when they grow
Literally,
up.
I went to my niece's and nephew's graduation. They're like 4 or 5, and they go there. What do you want to be when you're older? They're like, a mermaid.
mermaid,
You know, like the
exactly.
mind is so childlike.
Exactly.
They're not thinking about a true identity and a true gender base. And I'm not saying there's not one, but it's not on this such active level that it needs to be
Well,
pushed.
this is confusing the kids. Like, so they
100%.
think, okay, well,
Now they're
am I
creating the
supposed to
gender
do this?
dysphoria.
Exactly. They're creating the gender dysphoria. 1000%. Nowadays, I think that kids, they're getting confused and feel like they're not enough.
They feel
as
inadequate.
inadequate as themselves. And so they feel like they need to identify as something other than what they are. But this is being kind of like pushed on them. So it's confusing them. These people are being targeted right now.
100%.
Their
So I
their
just wanna-
emotions are being targeted. And that's why it's a really frustrating topic for anybody, really, I think, with a heart when it comes to children.
Again, I want to point out, we're not saying that you don't exist. What we're saying is we don't believe that the people who have the answer for that community is truly on your side.
Exactly.
That's our biggest forefront and our biggest problem. And we do, as knowing about the spiritual side of stuff, there's a lot of demonic energy and demonic influence that comes to that side. Because what have they done? Well, they've changed the structure of the Bible, which again, we're going to get into later, but they've already ostracized this community, my community, from God. They've cut off that life support. And now they've told you, which we're going to get into later, that you're just in a floating ball in space. You're insignificant to the world. We have the answer. And that is what they prey upon. And that is our issue. We just want people to wake up to realize, like, yeah, life sucks. Life's not, some cup of tea, but that also doesn't mean you pop a pill, you take a shot, and things get better.
And also don't encourage children who are still confused about, like, I didn't know what I wanted to do until late teens, early 20s, and I still didn't know what I
still didn't know what
it's like, I think, not that that's the same, your career and your gender identity. And your identity.
We're not negating people's identity and people's gender, but
exactly.
But you also have to realize there's a lot of environmental influence.
Exactly.
That comes into play.
And children growing up, they have a ton of influence, and they could be like with a friend group that encourages them to transition, and then later on in life, they regret it. Actually, I just heard a story of a personal friend of a friend. His friend's daughter was wanting to transition. She was, I think, 9 years old, and so the dad didn't know what to do. He was just like beside himself and wanted to be a good dad.
For sure.
So he went through the steps and got her this transition. She's 12 years old now and is completely distraught, regrets transitioning, and the dad is like borderline suicidal because
he feels he's responsible.
He feels responsible for this mess. And so it just shouldn't even be. That's why I think, like, at least have age limits on this.
Some people will be like, well, there are age limits. Also, there's FDA loopholes.
Also, I will add, this is like public knowledge and information. You can look this up right now. California is a sanctuary state for underage children
to come. You can leave your home.
You can leave your parents, leave your home, come to California and get a sex change. That is absurd. It is offensive. Can you imagine being a parent and having your child turn on you and just leave and go to California to change their sex?
Right.
And then I can guarantee you that there's a huge percentage of those children, if there are children that are doing this, which I'm sure there are,
of course,
that are gonna regret it down the line.
I was in a MTV documentary about trans youth back in 2016. The kid named Milo, that's me before any medical stuff happened to me. So now I'm stuck, looking like a man and sounding like a man. I regret.
Do you think a 12-year-old should be able to get a tattoo?
No. It's a pretty permanent decision. They can't make the decision for themselves yet. Something permanent on their body.
Do you think a 12-year-old should be able to consent to puberty blockers?
Yes. And I understand how that sounds really hypocritical. Yes, it's a permanent change on their body, but I think that at that point in their life, they probably know who they are, who they want to be.
And you think so at 12 years old?
Yes.
It's just like when you might run away from home, or you're like, you're not the perfect child growing up. But then you later on down the line, you look at it and you're like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
They had my best interest.
Exactly. Your parents have your best interest. And to take the kid.
Not every story is the same.
It's not. But, we do have to consider this.
And again, back to how I was talking about those people who are like, listen to the science. It's like, okay, well, what does the science say about the development of the brain? Because I'm pretty sure this is easily one Google search. The frontal lobe is not fully developed until you are 25. Why are we just allowing these big life-changing decisions to someone whose brain is not fully developed?
Yeah. Gender, race, any of these things, of course we're accepting. This is an attack on our children.
With this, the gay and the trans stuff, they want to sugarcoat it with, but it's who I identify as. Okay, well, identity is not the same thing as big pharma medication. But then you have trans people who transition from male to female who have you seen the breast milk one?
I'm going to be a mother. That's in the works, in the process. And part of that process is that I am working to induce lactation to be able to breastfeed our youngest child. I can actually make milk now, which has been a very interesting and very cool experience. It's like very biologically affirming too, which is something that's like gatekept from trans women.
Well, they're loaded with chemicals and drugs and stuff.
That's so awful.
And they're feeding this to children.
That is awful because obviously there has to be repercussions for the child if it's not natural coming from an actual woman. They are producing this naturally. You could imagine that would not be healthy.
I'm living this life for nearly 60 years. I have a large group of friends. We don't like the term cis. And enough of my female friends, sisters, friends, mothers, grandmothers have said that they don't like the term cis, and that's it. And if we need to respect your child's pronouns, you need to respect theirs. It's only fair. 1. 2, I don't really care if I have a community. I'm not in the community. I'm married to my husband happily for 27 years. He's a doctor. I'm a nurse. We want to be good neighbors and good people. We're not marching in the streets every day with rainbow flags and doing all that. We did that. We did that back in the 70s and the 80s. We fought for AIDS treatment and we fought for marriage equality and we got it. And we slid quietly into the background, right? Then all the trans stuff and the binary and the non-binary and people want to be a unicorn, want to be a cat for and they throw that on us, right? Nobody asked us. There wasn't a meeting. They're just there. And now they're so disrespectful to women, not all, some, so disrespectful with all this crap that guess what? People are now hating the LGBT. They're calling us the alphabet mafia and all these other things. I'm just reading all of these disparaging things about myself. And now I'm afraid someone's going to jump me because they think I'm trying to molest kids or that I'm doing drag shows or that I'm trying to sneak into the back. Like, come on. We need to be respectful to each other because it's not what it used to be. It has been hijacked and it's being molested. And I suggest to all these young people, if you want respect, you need to give it. That's how we got it. You don't kick the door in and start screaming, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to happen. It's just common sense. You come in the back door. You ask. You get people feel for you and side for you, and they'll have compassion and they'll support you. But you can't kick the door in and start screaming in everybody's faces and trying to change science. You said your child was observed. Come on, that's trickery. Your child was born female. Sorry, they could be trans later, but you're not going to set them up that way. It's not how it works. It's not open. That's ridiculous. And that's where people have a problem. Anyways, I wish you well. I wish your child well, but please don't speak for all of us. If women say they don't like it, don't do it. You can't demand respect for your pronouns, but not give a shit for other people's. Thank you.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I mean, if I could relate to any sentiment of mindset, that is exactly how I feel. And I know that there are other gay people out there that feel the exact same way. We have been hijacked.
But I do have a few other comments about that video. I think that was so well said and what a ton of us are thinking. He mentioned in the beginning about the term cis. Literally had no clue what cis even was until recently I Googled it because I was like, what is cis even?
I'm cis?
I'm cis? I guess I'm cis. I had no clue. But I don't.
CIS, not SIS.
Yeah, I'd rather be cis, like, you know, like yo, cis. Yeah. But I'm not. I guess,
yeah,
CIS.
you're labeled as a pronoun.
Which it sounds weird. Like, I don't love the term. I don't even want to be a pronoun.
You and I both agree upon that.
Yeah.
Like, we refused when it first came out.
Yeah.
We were like, I am not changing my Instagram.
Oh,
he,
yeah.
him, his, she, her, hers. Fine if you want to do that. But again, the people who are pushing these pronouns are the government.
Yeah.
It's not like we had, like he says, we didn't have a gay meeting and we're like, hey guys.
Exactly. Like, who decided this?
The people who do not have our best interests, the people that in every other word talk about control.
Yeah.
Like, talk about how we're a menace, create the problem, but then also somehow have the solution.
Exactly.
Like, these are the people who are pushing these pronouns, but then you have a community who already, we have been ostracized.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she as a straight woman knows gay people have been ostracized, but what we're trying to say is we've been hijacked, not by them, but by the people who are in control.
Remember what we said. They are doing their best to put us against each other.
Yeah.
So we're distracted. We're all arguing with each other. And we need to come together and recognize there is a greater purpose behind all of this. If we are all fighting with each other,
the shadows is wide open for them to lurk in.
Exactly. Okay, but let's talk about, I just saw a video. There was a military member who was saying every surgery is being paid for now by our tax dollars. I don't know how that has anything to do with the military, but obviously, like, they get special benefits from being in the military, right?
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, we go back to population control. Well, they're not going to be having kids, which there is a very clear-cut agenda with population control. You can look up so many different things on the
literature is there.
It's all over the place.
Yeah.
And there's so many high-level, high-ranking people that do control and operate our society that are encouraging this global population control.
Just so that we don't get banned, we won't name any names. But if you know, you know. And that's how we feel about the entire, political system. Let's be real. Without naming any names, these Democrats, these Republicans, in the shadows, they're best friends. They know what's going on.
Exactly.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah, we're independent free thinkers. We don't agree with sides.
Each side is paid. Each side is puppeted. Who's pulling the strings? That's what we want to find out.
Exactly.
Also, before we get further into this podcast, which I feel like, we're going to be talking about this later as well, but I do want to point out they are obviously pitting us against each other. I will say the gay community does pretty much give the straight community the perfect bait to push out in media. It's gotten to the point where even me as a comedian, yes, I'm gay, but I wear wigs. I do the mom character right now, but I even get hate now from the straight community because of how outrageous these agenda trans movements have been. Her boyfriend went to go show one of his friends at work this video. I'll put a little screenshot on screen. And as soon as he was showing him the video, he was like, oh no, I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see you guy in a dress.
But again, it's because they have been shown this ridiculous stuff in the media. And look, I'm not saying they're not wrong.
That's why
because it's ridiculous.
Both sides are just ridiculous.
It is. Both sides are toxic, but neither side is helping each other. One of the biggest things was, it was like a march, like a strike or something, which I'll show you the video, but we all know it. It sounds like they're saying, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children.
I remember that.
However, if you listen to the rest of it, which we're going to show right here, it's the person that's recording the video that is saying, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. The actual people in the crowd are saying, we're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping. And what that is meaning is there was this movement in the 1980s where gay rights activists stormed the shopping malls because they were doing, during Pride Month, every company wants to be woke and be like, oh, hey, we're gay, we're down with you. But none of the proceeds go to any LGBTQ plus community. They're just raking in all the money. So back then, well,
that's
even
crazy,
to this
I was gonna
day,
say it's happening
yeah,
to this day.
But the movement of the we're here, we're queer, we're not going shopping was created in this 1980 storm raid of the mall. So that's what these people are saying. But the person that's recording the video is the one that says, we're here, we're queer, we're coming for your children. And that's the only part of the clip that's being circulated around the internet and was being circulated around the news.
Hence the media and why we don't trust the media.
Exactly. But my biggest thing is, was that a plant? Was that a straight person that just went out to, this little march and was saying all of this stuff? Now, I will say the gay community did not help that out anymore, because let me show you another video.
We're coming for your children. We're coming for your children.
Now, again, they're doing this because they're just kind of poke fun at it. Yeah, we're coming for your children. You're so stupid to think this. But then again, you've got stuff that we're going to point out later, like the whole drag queen dancing in front of the kids and the pride stuff being pushed in elementary schools. It's not that far-fetched that maybe you're not coming after their children, but the is pushing stuff to come after our children. Again, we're going to get into the drag queens dancing in front of the kids, because again, I feel like maybe the gay community isn't seeing these videos. Maybe they're only being shown the clean-cut drag queen just reading the story time. But something else that's not helping the case, it was in the Oklahoma district. They hired that drag queen where years prior he was convicted, or charges were dropped.
I thought he was convicted.
Was he convicted? I'll have to look it up.
But of child I think he was I think found guilty.
Oh, okay. Let me look that up.
Yeah, let's look right now.
He was charged with possession of child more than 20 years ago, but the case was dismissed because it couldn't be proven that the images depicted were minors. I'm so confused.
I know, like
how can you not tell that that's a child?
That's gonna drive parents.
Right?
nuts.
It's like you don't do background checks. Y'all aren't realizing something fishy is going on here, but it's because they're wanting people to argue. And they know that this right here will stir the pot.
So Alex was talking about how pride, it's really not something we should have. And in the Bible, it's actually pretty clear cut that pride is actually a sin.
And now I also want to point out, because, you know, in a later episode that we're going to talk about the changes in the Bible, and then now we quote the Bible. I would say that 90% of the Bible is still there.
Mm-hmm.
However, there has been changes, which, like I say, we will get into in later episodes. But the Lord gave us an innate moral code. You know this because when you're having a conversation with someone, you can feel when they're uncomfortable. You can feel when, and not even with them showing it in their eyes, you can feel it. Well, that's our souls. Hello, people, you have a soul. Mm-hmm. So you have a creator of that soul and of that spirit. But we also have people who have manipulated the design of, well, this is what we're going to give you and this is all they're going to know. They can't do that to your soul, because you can have a whole conversation with the Lord and the Lord can give you a discernment on the facts of the matter. And that's how I felt about, you know, this whole gay process. It's not who you are that's wrong. It's what they are pushing you to be and who to stray away from that becomes, you know, the topic of the matter, which again would be having the pride, which is having the narcissism. All of this is demonic energy. Like, I do not accept Pride Month. I would accept Proud Month. Why can't we have Proud Month? Why does it specifically have to be Pride Month when we're literally not supposed to have pride? The people who orchestrate this stuff, again, it's not like gay people got together and was like, let's call it Pride Month, or again, let's have pronouns. It's like, this is what we're given. And again, who we're being given it by, we know what these people are involved in. We know what these globalist, elitist people, we know who they serve. And if you don't know who they serve, Google it. Your soul does not have a gender. Wake up, guys. When you die, you're not going to have this appendage. You're not going to have a penis. You're not going to have a vagina. You're not going to have boobs. That's just the reality of what your soul is. So do I believe that people can be more in tune with their soul, and that's how you get non-binary people? Sure. But not everybody has this innate ability. So when you push this on the kids' agenda, and that's where people get labeled as conservatives, and it's just like, no, they have discernment, which anybody can have.
You know, going through the process, I'd like to get into this. I've seen tons of videos of people that have, as children, been encouraged to transition and have totally regretted it. First of all, they don't know what they're getting into. I saw this woman who transitioned, but she was regretting it. So then she wanted to be a female again. She held up her bag and there was like 100 different medications.
If you know anything about Big Pharma, you're a cash cow.
Exactly.
They've got you for life.
Big Pharma in general is going to encourage anything that is going to make them a profit. So this is like a huge profitable agenda.
Oh, it's over a $5 billion industry.
This is like the ideal thing for them, because these exact same people, the globalists, are pushing, you know, population control. So it would make perfect sense for this to just fit right in there.
Which again, I mean, you have the same people that's screaming like, listen to the science. But then when it comes down to male and female, it's like, well, what does the science say about the female and woman? Now, I know that a lot of like, who am I to be telling a woman or a female like the definition of what you are? But I'm just going to try to explain to you where the trans community is coming from and where I can kind of see, but there's a line being blurred there, obviously. But what they are saying is a female is someone who was born with a female anatomy, but not even that. I guess it's down to your chromosome. But what makes you a woman is society's standards of how a female should act. So like, again, if you were born in the 1600s, I don't know the actual time dates of this, of like when women turn or when females turned butter, but if you did not know how to make butter, you weren't a woman, because that was the woman's duties. So in this time point, I don't really know what a woman would be categorized as doing by society, but what I just, to the top of my head, a woman wears makeup, wears dresses. Obviously not every female does. So the trans community, a lot of them are saying, I am not a trans female, I'm a trans woman, which means that I was biologically a male, but I present myself as a woman
Which
does in
they
these standards.
do.
Exactly. So I get that.
Trans women are trans women. And that's not said disrespectfully, because my era, we were transvestites, drag queens, you're a man in a dress. We fought to have the title of trans women.
Gotcha.
Respectfully, trans men are trans men. That is not even a disrespect. It's this younger, new generation, Z crazy, that it's not enough for. But let me just break something down to y'all real simple. If a woman is a social construct and we're emulating women, what would that make us? Social construction workers? Oh, Flame, you just pandering for the women. No, I know what a woman is. Woman is Mother Earth. We all came through the birth canal of a woman. That is the problem. We keep trying to dismiss women. You cannot dismiss a woman.
Right.
Life
Or
would
compete.
stop. And all female impersonators, transgendered, sex change, whatever, you did not learn how to be a female or act like a female watching somebody like you in a suit and tie.
That's a fact.
You learn from the woman that raised you, whether it be your mother, your auntie, your stepmother, whomever.
Can I just be real? I consider trans women to be a category of men. That is my opinion as a trans woman myself. So don't you dare tell me I can't have my opinion.
But
what else are they supposed to say?
Well, what they say is, I am you. I am a female. And it's like,
that's where the fight
you're not.
Yeah.
So I'm so confused. You can feel like a female. You could be trapped in the wrong body. We're not saying that's not reality, but science says you're not. If you go missing right now and they have a piece of your DNA, they're going to locate you as a male or whatever you were biologically born as.
Exactly.
So what they're blurring the line is gender identity with the actual facts of what you were biologically assigned with. And again, we're not saying that you can't be born in the wrong body. I'm not oblivious to that. That can happen. I mean, even straight people, like, you have to know that hermaphrodites exist. Like, there are actual people in this world who have different chromosomes, and certain chromosomes start to take over later in life. You can't be oblivious to that. And that does not mean that God's creation was somewhat flawed. They want to use the argument that God created you perfect. You don't need to change. They say this to the trans community. Okay, so if you want to use that argument, then I don't want to see you going to go get your teeth fixed, because God created you with that mouth. I don't want to see you dye your hair, because God created you with that hair. I don't want to see you go get contacts, because God created you with that vision. I don't want to see you go get a breast reduction, because God gave you them boobs.
Yeah.
So you can't use that argument. It is. They want to completely miss the entire things that they do in their life. It's hypocritical. That's one thing that again, like we say, we see both sides, but we also see how both sides, like, you need to look at yourself in the mirror, because this side has valid arguments and this side has valid arguments. And the fact that neither one of you are wanting to see each other's sides is ridiculous.
Yeah, people are playing into like the battle, basically.
They're being puppeted.
Yeah,
they see what's on the news, and it's just like, you are being used as a puppet. And right now, there is an attack on Christians, and how they are doing that is they're getting us to judge people. Because guess what, guys? The Bible says, do not judge. If the devil cannot get you with anything, what can he get you with? He can get us with ain't nobody worthy to stand in front of God. God says this. He says, if you do not want to be judged, do not judge. Judge, not only now do you have to be judged, I have to hold you to the exact same way that you judged others. Are y'all prepared for that? Because at this point, it's no longer, well, we're fighting for our children. We get that side. But now you have people, like you pointed out, the friend that's at work and can't even see a guy dressed as a female. That makes you enraged. honey, there's a lot of self-reflection that needs to happen because you got someone to answer to someday. And that one ain't nobody worthy to be answered to. So it's not what you identify as, is what were you born as? So I get that you're wanting the respect of this is how I feel, this is how you should approach me. But also when you're pumping yourself full of synthetic hormones, because that's what it is.
You have to understand there's consequences.
There's consequences to it.
That.
You were born with, well, let's just go back to female. Let's say you're female moving to male. Okay, but your innate design was a female heart, which is smaller than a male's heart. You have female organs. You have a body that's pumping estrogen predominantly. Now you're going to pump it full of testosterone. So not only is your body going to be suffering, but you have your internal organs that were now out of nowhere. You're just receiving this testosterone that's not even real testosterone. It's synthetic lab made testosterone. You don't think you're going to have some hormonal issues?
Absolutely. You're confusing your body. You might not initially have problems. There's been tons of issues with like a true transition. That's what makes me so frustrated for our children, because it's one thing when you're an adult to make this decision. Right. And I don't fault you for that, you know?
Right. We're not saying that imagine how frustrating.
If you really feel
for sure
in your heart that this is what you want to do.
And we're not saying that you're not feeling that. I'm gay, so I know that I exist. You're saying you're trans and that you were born a male and that you feel female. I believe you exist. Mm-hmm. But what sucks about that whole situation is you have the people that's in charge that is not caring that you exist. They're looking at you as a cash cow and as a lifetime money supplier.
Exactly.
So they're not thinking of your true identity, best interest.
No. And also with so many different drugs, not even from a transitioning standpoint, but in general, there's so many consequences that come with drugs. You see these commercials and they're like, side effects may include heart attacks, blah, 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 and death.
Right.
It's like,
for sure. It's the fine print.
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that I know this is going on in other countries like Germany. I got to show you. It is really messed up. This headline reads, German daycares promote sexual exploration rooms where children can engage in sexual games. One daycare said it offered freedom to try out child sexuality in the rooms. Now, this is on Fox News, okay?
Also, we understand that any news station, you're a paid organization.
For sure.
Like, we're not some Fox News.
No, we're not.
We hate Fox News. We hate CNN. We hate MSNBC. We're just saying.
No, we don't like mainstream media in general.
So we're not quoting from Fox News as if this is the Bible. But we're just saying they are talking about this.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's a real topic, basically.
For
this
sure.
is happening in Germany. And that is disgusting. It's opening the door for sexual exploitation, harassment, predators.
And again, something to point out, grooming, when you have like how you say there's this society of gays against groomers, grooming is not only a sexual thing. Mm-hmm. You can groom someone into believing that they are a different identity, which is what we believe is going on by the government. It's not all just about a 40-plus-year-old man grooming a child for, the big P word. Exactly. I don't want to say that, but you guys know child, PEDO word. It's not just about that.
Yeah.
It's about grooming the mindset and the future generation of how to think, how to feel, and how to identify that we have the problem with.
Kids are still growing up, learning. It really is causing a lot of confusion.
And we believe, again, that they're doing this by you have the drag queens in schools. Mm-hmm. And the drag queen story time, again, as we say, like...
Why bring them into a school?
What is the point?
What is the point? We don't bring strippers.
We're not associating strippers with drag queens. However...
But they're performers, stage performers.
In a nightclub that has an age limit, 18 plus.
Exactly. So why are we bringing them into schools to read to children other than to cause outrage, to put people against each other? Because there's some people that, want to be, like we said, they're so woke and want to fit in so much that they're pushing this. Like, no, this, we need to be accepting. And it's like, no, that's not what this is about.
That is your job to tell your child to respect people.
Exactly.
It's not your child's job to look at a man that's presenting as a woman to respect that individual. parents, be a parent and tell your child you respect people.
Exactly.
And you don't make people feel less than. You don't poke fun. You don't bully people. But for you to now bring a performer and make this child try to make this decision, get out of here.
Footage surfaced of a drag queen performing in front of infants. Yes, infants. The vision is so shocking that we have to heavily blur it. But these are grown adults in bondage gear or in G-strings strutting around in front of tiny kids, infants, toddlers. The heavily sexualized drag shows is just the latest in a growing list of.
I'm smiling because I'm so uncomfortable. Like, I'm laughing because I'm just like, are you freaking kidding me?
What is the point?
Like, but how is this legal?
I know.
How is this not, without saying the obvious? Like, are you freaking kidding me? So again, to my gay community, maybe you're not seeing these videos. Maybe, again, you're only seeing the pretty drag queen that's just casually reading in front of the kids, which, again, we're just kind of like, what is the point? It's like, not saying like anything's wrong, but like clearly there's stuff like this. And it's like, how are y'all not seeing these videos? And how are y'all not just as enraged? And then again, for some people, they're just like, well, that's not the drag queen's fault. That's the parents' fault. Excuse me?
It's everyone's
It's
fault.
everybody's fault. That is not only the parents' job to not bring their kid to that, but it's also that drag queen's job to say, you know what? No.
And the coordinators, like the school coordinating, like what is the point of this?
I can't get over it. Like, how do you even feel comfortable doing that in front of kids? Like, that is, and now you again want to question why they're calling gay people groomers? This right here. Like, and this is just one example.
A lot of us have seen these videos. And if you haven't, maybe you're living under a rock. So I think that there's a lot of people that, I mean, I can't speak for, I'm not in the LGBTQI.
She can't say
I know. I'm not in the alphabet community.
Also, let me just say, people have been using that as a slur.
Alphabet?
The alphabet community. Okay. She's not meaning this in a bad way, but I feel the same way.
Yeah.
It's like
I forget. Yeah, there's all these different, and I don't agree with like, well, let's not use that word. I don't agree with like them being roped in with that community, and they're getting roped in with that community. There's minor, they're called MAPs, right? Minor attracted persons. That's what they're called.
Oh my God. Well, that's protected in some countries.
Yeah. So
which we know of some actors who have gotten citizenship in these countries to protect themselves from this very thing. Again, if you know,
allegedly.
Well, they came out and said they are citizenship of this country.
Right, but we don't know why they really went.
For sure.
But
again, we're not going to go into detail of that.
Or say names.
If you know, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely some countries out there that are way more accepting of that. But again, I think that goes back to, a child is an innocent being and need to be protected from predators, because these are
they exist.
Ultimately they're predators at that point, and kids don't know. And like, I think a good example, I kind of feel for R. Kelly in a way. This is really random, but I know people would think that's very controversial, right? Because he's obviously a sick freak, but he was molested as a child by his sister. Okay, so
I didn't know that.
So the thing is when you grow up,
hurt people.
Exactly. Hurt people. So that's the biggest issue, is you have to protect a child, because they're going to grow up to be what they learned growing up.
So true.
So he was like, in a sick way, attracted
not okay
to that.
way.
Yeah, he was attracted to that. So it's like,
wow,
it really is sad. We have tons of people that agree with us on this on so many levels.
Even without the agreement, I mean, and again, I just want to point out, because again, like, we're saying some very bold statements. We're aware that we're making very bold statements, but also that is the whole point of life. Share your opinions. Don't be afraid to speak. It's not as if you and I are the lords of the world and our opinion we sign our name to, and that's what happens. We're having a conversation. We're wanting you to have a conversation with us.
And to critically think.
And if you disagree, That's fine. We may even, after looking back at this, be like, you know what? Maybe we misspoke. Maybe we grouped everyone together and didn't mean to group everyone together. That's why I try to interject to be like, we do understand that there is people out there that there's an exception to, but there's no longer an exception to when you are accepting everyone. And you're telling everyone, well, this is what you need to do if you're feeling this way. Okay, so now there's this whole topic about trans people in sports. The biggest one, which was the Leah Thomas, is that her name? Leah Thomas? Leah Thomas, if I'm wrong, correct me in the comments, she's still intact.
Yeah.
My teammates and I were forced to undress in the presence of Leah, a 6'4" tall biological male, fully intact with male genitalia, 18 times per week. When we tried to voice our concerns to the athletic department, we were told that Leah's swimming and being in our locker room was a non-negotiable, and we were offered psychological services to attempt to re-educate us to become comfortable with the idea of undressing in front of a male.
Let me just say this. I think there is some regulations around what I'm about to point out, but obviously males are stronger because the bone density. Not all female. I've seen some females, biological females, that can whoop my butt. Okay, so we're not saying that, but we're saying 99%, right?
Our actual like makeup.
Testosterone is strength, bone density, the muscle mass. Like, guys can take on more than women 9 times out of 10. I do believe there's regulations that the person, like the male to female, they have to be on estrogen a certain amount of time, or like 2 years. It's almost just like people with steroids. If they took steroids, they have to like prove that this amount of time that it's been out of their system. So I do believe that there is regulations around trans people being able to compete, but we have seen some insane, predominantly in the male and female sports, that is just like, what? How is this even fair?
To a woman, for sure. I don't really care about any of this stuff, but let's just think about the reality of what's fair. You know, if you're placing a biological male against a biological female.
It's just so crazy because I just feel like we weren't having this conversation. But again, people listening, they feel like we're living in this like insane backwards world. And I'm not going to say that we're not, but I'm also like not about disrespecting people. I am blessed to not have those thoughts of feeling like I'm trapped in the wrong body. I can't imagine that feeling. And then now you go through with it. Now you have the world hating you, but also.
But when you bring it into, I'm just going to say, I know exactly what you're saying on that side of things. Like, that's completely different than when you bring it into sports, competition where people are winning money and they dedicate their whole lives to this. That's when it becomes messy and unfair. Because even when somebody weighs in at a higher weight than another, they can't compete. So why is it like male to female, they can compete as a female? And, you know, that one clip, which will show
the boxing. Oh my God, that was so
we were just looking at this like,
she's a pretty strong fighter. I don't think she has a technique.
Fox delivering the knees, and that's it. Fallon Fox.
Feeling excellent. That was sweet, huh? Did you like that? Yeah.
Oh my.
It's so.
I was mind blown.
One thing that I really appreciate about Caitlyn Jenner is she's speaking out publicly about this. She's totally against.
Yeah, but didn't she take some award? She didn't take the Woman of the Year award.
She did. It's kind of hypocritical.
Excuse me?
It's a little bit hypocritical. But I know, that's so funny. You know, she was a competitive athlete, and at least she sees that side of things. That's definitely, it's a little bit different, but it's also the same because it's just like offensive to women. I really don't care. It's like, who cares about winning a stupid award, really?
It does suck that it's like, again, this is such a one in how many thousands of people that we're now changing every structure of life to fit this such minute gender identity. It's like, what? I just feel like people in the gay community, they will look at me. Well, I guess I'm assuming some gay people will think of my opinion, but it's just like, just because my opinion is not your opinion, like, are we not allowed to call out hypocrisy? Like, are we?
And also blindly accepting, like, I feel like a lot of people in these communities are just standing up for, you know, the drag queen dancing for babies and things like that.
I don't know if they know this. If they do, shame on you.
Well, that's what I mean about being like woke. It's just like, they don't know, then of course, but if they do know.
Because they aren't showing this stuff on the main news site. Gay people don't go to Fox News. We don't either. But we're just saying, they're not showing this stuff, as far as I know, on CNN and MSNBC of like the drag queens dancing in front of kids. They're just showing the perfect drag queen just casually reading in front of kids and being like, the right-wing conspiracy theorists have an issue. And it's like, no, that's not really what the issue is. Is this one half naked just slinging around in front of toddlers? Yeah. That's the problem.
Exactly.
And if you're not seeing it, that's one thing. But if you're seeing it and trying to condone it, shame on you.
Like you said, we're not looking for anybody to really have agreement, but I think
having a conversation.
But, you know, check out these things. Like I said, critically think about these things. There's a nonprofit organization called Gays Against Groomers, which I love them.
I have spoke about, again, what groomers means. It does not always mean about grooming a child. It means grooming a mindset. There's a spectrum of grooming.
And they post a ton of stuff that's just, they're right here in line with what we're saying. And it'd be good for you to check out if you have any questions or maybe like want to think about it a little bit more, because I
#fact checked.
Exactly. But not like the real, those fact checkers.
Paid fact checker.
Yeah, we don't like those fact checkers.
Which again, if you know, you know. Well, then also something I want to mention or just rope back around to is the pushing the parents feeling like they have to be woke. But you are saying they feel forced, they feel backed into a corner. And you showed me this video of this lady like holding her toddler up. I mean, every bit of like,
So
what,
bizarre.
10 months old?
Literally a
old.
complete baby. And she's like, please be gay. Please be gay. I got a gay baby. We'll show the clip.
It's a gay baby. Gay baby. Gay, gay, gay. Be what you want to be, but be gay. Okay?
Which is, you know, could be funny, I guess.
But I don't think she was trying to be funny.
Either.
Like, she was dead serious.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, that's wrong.
That's grooming.
That's grooming.
That is grooming the mindset.
Mm-hmm. You know, most people that we've had this conversation with are actually like totally on the same page with
All
us.
my gay friends are pissed.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you, I'm the one, if you want to put political sense on it, that's more liberal minded of like, well, guys, like, you know, we gotta be inclusive. We've gotta have a conversation around it. And they're like, no, but we're being dragged down with it. And in the back of my head, I'm like, you're right. We are being dragged down with this agenda that we never talked about. I mean, the idea of pronouns, I mean, in reality, would have been laughed at a couple of years ago. Now,
I know, all of a sudden, ever since 2020,
one after the other,
just things being thrown at us, you know? And
sure.
And it's like, we were never arguing about this, thinking about this. That's why I feel like it's clear that there is an agenda behind this, because it's like, where did this come from?
I just want to reiterate, so because you know, people want to hear what they want to hear from this. We're not saying that you are not valid in how you feel. We are saying that the people who are in control do not have our best interest, okay? And minority groups are being used. Whether you are Black in this country, whether you are gay in this country, transgender in this country, any minority group, you're being used.
The main takeaway we want you guys to have from this is, like I said, critically think, because you are being used and we shouldn't be fighting with each other.
No. But I feel like people will fight with us for these opinions because they have been, I hate to use the word, but brainwashed. I feel like we need the montage of the video, you know, where all the news sources are saying like, our democracy is threatened.
Unfortunately, some members of the media
use their platforms
to push their own personal bias.
To push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
Quit listening to mainstream media that has been bought and paid for. Have conversations with people outside of your social circle. And I guarantee you, a lot of them, which you want to label conservative, they are kind-hearted people that just want the best interest of society. But it's like the biggest thing, which I think we would close with, is that video that you showed me of the guy talking about the diversity. We want to accept everything, but not an open format of conversation, not an open format of opinion.
It's all about diversity, except diversity of thought, right? We want diversity of cultures, economic, social standing.
We want the skin color.
We want skin colors. But if someone has a different thought as you do, all of a sudden, oh, we don't want that diversity.
You just said it. People are, there's probably going to be people here that are mad at us. But that's why this video is a perfect way to wrap it up. That there needs to be able to be diversity of thought. We need to be able to think critically about what is going on in the world, have our own opinions. Don't just, accept what the higher powers that be are telling you to think. Think for yourself.
Ask yourself, why are you getting mad at this? Is it because this is what you genuinely feel? Or is this because this is what you've been told to be mad at? Again, I'm gay. I'm not homophobic.
Exactly.
I'm not transphobic, but I'm down to have a conversation that the people who are in charge, they do not care about us. They care about what can they make, what can they take from us. That's my biggest thing for my gay people, for my trans people. They have ultimately taken God away from us because they've told you God doesn't love you. They've changed the Bible, which again, we're going to get into.
We don't know exactly who they is when it comes to, but
if you know, you know.
Yeah. But we really don't know. And, when it comes to changing the Bible and we will get into those topics
for sure
at a later time.
I feel like we're forced in a society where our speech is taken away.
And I, for one, will never be too smart. I want to hear opinions. I want to hear, other school of thought. So I can actually properly make my assessment on each and every topic. That's just, and I might not be right about everything.
Exactly.
It's just, that's how you
Can
grow.
think. You cannot feel like, well, I'm about to get canceled.
Exactly.
Really? Yeah. Have a mindset, have a backbone, have a thought, but also learn and don't feel like you're right in every situation. We can have a conversation with somebody and be like, well, this is how I thought about it. But you know what? I see where you're coming from.
Yeah. So we hope you guys can take away some thoughts from this. Hope you're not mad at us. We love you.
I just love how you, as a straight woman, though, can have this conversation with me. She listens. We're like brother and sister, okay? Like, we have little fights and we have little tiffs, but then we come back together and we're like, well, this is where you're coming from. Well, this is where I'm coming from. And we know that we're in this together because we truly care about humanity. And we also have a full connection. I look at it as like the Avatar, that movie Avatar where they're like, well, she doesn't watch movies or TVs, but in the movie Avatar where they're connected through there's this little thing that goes like this. I feel like that's how we're connected. And I feel like that's what they're trying to break from humanity is our soul connection with each other. And they're like, well, we're the authoritative mindsets and this is what you should connect to. And they're trying to break this bond between us. So again, I love you and thank you for having this conversation and thank you for listening. If you made it this far, we love you guys.
Yes, we love all of you as well. And thank you so much for hearing us out. And there's going to be more to come. We're really excited to share with you.
Yes. And we will see you guys in the next episode.